Shalom, Israel. This is Brother Nalah with another edition of Nalah's Chamber, giving double honors to Yahweh Shai and our mighty Father, Heavenly Father, Yahweh. And honors go to the house of Israel and the elders of the house of Israel, and all the brethren of the house of Israel and the nation of Israel. Today I want to go into a topic called Attention Addicts. Topic called Attention Addicts. It was inspired by an incident that happened about a month ago when you had this Eve from down in Louisiana who used Gorilla Glue spray on her hair as a style, like a holding spray, but it was Gorilla Glue that you would use on fixing a car or fixing wood, or as a household manufacturing type of spray for industrial strength use, not for cosmetic use, which is obvious. So she sprayed it on her head to style her hair, and it so-called got stuck to her skull and held in place, and she couldn't wash it out. So she took to social media to display what happened. And of course, it caught fire and went viral in all media, from TMZ to, of course, your run-of-the-mill social media, Twitter and Instagram, and all of the above got wind of it and became a nationwide and, to a certain degree, worldwide story. Now, to get right into it, I really think, to go into the conspiracy aspect, I really think she was a plant. I don't believe there's certain things that came out to reveal that this was a more orchestrated stunt than it appeared. But that's not even the point of the topic, but that's just sort of a side note that I'll go into real quick. The evidence is that, well, first of all, unfortunately, the pictures the media used, once again, the name of the product is Gorilla Glue. So as you know, the racist, one of many racist derogatory terms against black people is black people looking like monkeys. And you know, a gorilla is related in the umbrella of a monkey. It's an ape. So it's all in the monkey family. It's the bigger of all the monkeys. So the fact that, let's say, argument's sake, that this was actually real, why would she embarrass herself by putting Gorilla Glue in her hair and then displaying the product next to her face, which, you know, the average racist white person is going to say, haha, they're going to get the most kick out of it, because you're backing up a stereotype that's been well over a century now, centuries. So if this was real, on another side note, she could have just said, I put some glue in my hair, or Gorilla Glue, and she could have just left. She could have just said, I don't even want to name the product because I don't want to give them that kind of shine. They did something bad to me. But she's holding up the product as if she's advertising it. That's why, on my conspiracy side, without concrete proof, that I'm leaning towards this was a conspiracy done by the Gorilla Glue company, the media, and they picked a person that wanted attention, that didn't mind going through it, and they offered her whatever. So they picked some country bumpkin from Louisiana, and no disrespect to people in Louisiana, but they picked somebody that was rural and wasn't that street smart and savvy. So you pick a southern state that's known to have a lot of rural parts of it, So this can be a thrill ride for you when you get out of that state and go travel to Hollywood and New York and all the things she did afterwards. But to use her as an example, and once again, the thing that led me to believe that this was some type of stunt is just the media using the picture of her with her face next to the Gorilla Glue can, which she's making the same face as the gorilla. So it just looked too perfectly placed for that to be an accident. So she got paid. The Gorilla Glue company, that's advertising for them, because when you watch glue commercials, they always, even from the crazy glue days, they want to show you how strong it is. So it's like a free commercial for them. And then she tried to cover it up by saying, "Oh, I'm going to sue them," but she had no grounds to sue them. So that was just to throw you off, that she really is not into it. But I think the company paid her to do that as advertisement. And our people, attention is more valuable than gold. So you put attention and money, it wouldn't take a long time to find somebody to go through with that, as she did. But it's just 15 minutes of fame, and she'll be forgotten in no time. And she's already getting forgotten. But she is a good example of a bigger picture that technology, anytime you have an advance in technology, you're going to get changes in society due to that technology. Right now, we're in this information age, with particularly social media, and also YouTube, which is the instant video age, where anyone can record them with their opinions or whatever you want to show. So everybody has access to show something. So that's going to change the way society is. But when you deal with our people, it's because we're in captivity and we're under these curses, we're always going to get the less end of the stick than more. It's always going to be a detriment rather than an attribute, or it's not providing us with anything. It's more taking away from us. It'd be more of it's not an asset, it's more of a liability. So to go back to some history, or to make an analogy of how a media change can change the way society is, you had MTV, standing for Music Television, the cable station, which launched in the early 80s, became the center place for music and what was current in the youth. So before that, in order to get music, you had to go listen to the radio. The radio was your source of discovering new music and developing your music taste. But when MTV came out, it gave you a visual along with the audio. So that changed everything, because now not only are you hearing the music, you can see the music being played out in the performance. And not just a stage performance, but sort of an acting performance. So because of that, and MTV it started out more rock music oriented. You had glam rock became the number one music of the country for well over a decade. So when glam rock became popular, bands like Motley Crue, Poison, Warrant, and many others, you had them with high hair, Aquanet teased up hair, tight spandex pants, and makeup, looking like women because of MTV. Now they had visuals, so everybody, which in rock was once again was the number one music for the 80s at that time and half of the 90s. Everybody wanted to be visual with their art, so that dominated because it was something new. There's a correlation that goes with rock music and rap, because both those music come from black people, but they're almost like Siamese twins or cousins, because rock came out first, and you saw what happened, and it got too overblown, and then it went into a decline. Then rap came out after and took over, and you're seeing sort of the same things. So, like in rock music, everyone had tattoos, and everyone had crazy hair, and they had tight pants. At that time, in hip hop, it was baggy pants and everybody looked rough. Now that rock is pretty much gone, the only rock that's really left that's making money is the old bands. Hip hop took over that, and you're seeing hip hop go down that same path where everyone has tattoos, they're wearing tight pants, and they're dressing up like girls. So that's what was going on in rock. So it's followed the same path, and it eventually ended. So I believe you're seeing sort of the end of hip hop, the ending years of hip hop, because it really has nowhere to go. It went into a real silliness where it's all visuals, and the music quality is not there. And it's the same thing with the topic I'm on is attention. So you have hip hop musicians are more looking for attention as the priority, and the music secondary than the music being first. So that's why they have to troll the internet. You have Tekashi 6ix9ine and all those, the baby, little baby, and all these babies. It's all about them showing their jewelry and their tattoos and their gold grills, and that's more of the product than the actual quality of the music. And that's what happened to rock before it died. So you see the media created an avenue for this attention as far as entertainment goes. Now, that's as far as the artist goes. Now, on the regular, the average person, you have social media. So everyone is on there, and they're trying to fantasize these lives through pictures. So it's basically Instagram and Twitter and all the social media is a false reality. They're showing highlight reels of their life that doesn't even really represent what their everyday life is. And that's become what the youth are channeling their lives through. Rather than build themselves up, they're actually building up a false reality. So I see that as extremely detrimental, like I said, for our people more. The other heathen nations can get away with that because at least they have a structure to fall back on of a people. They have a culture. We have our culture. I mean, we know have our true culture, which is being Hebrew, the children of the Most High, but the 2/3 don't have a culture. Their culture is American captivity culture, so they have nothing to fall back on. So, example of this is all these challenges: the June bug challenge, the drop it challenge, where Eve drops and she's wearing regular clothes and now she's shaking her behind. You'll see our people, it's a double-edged sword with our people, because our people make those social medias by doing those challenges and stuff like that. And it's making them money. The people that control these social media platforms is making them billions. But our people, it just gets them attention. So you have one segment of the population are making billions off of this, and another segment of the population is just getting attention. There's very few people that make money. Now, mind you, there are people that make money posting online and stuff like that. But that's a small percentage, and even those percentages that do make money, you're not making as much as the creators of these platforms. They're making billions. They can throw you a few $100 here, a few $1,000 here a month for whatever platform you're popular on, and then use you to advertise other stuff. But they're not making the billions that you're putting into it and making them get all the money. And that's been a long tradition from the early days of rhythm and blues and rock and roll, where you have all these artists that are making money, these rock artists, R&B artists that are making money selling to white kids, and they're getting very few. They're changing the culture, but getting very few residuals back from it. So it's a tradition, very American tradition. You make everything hot, but at the end of the day, you get left with the crumbs. But all you get for sure is the attention. And that curse has been there for a very long time. Our people happen to be an entire society. The only unique, that's how you know this is deep, and this is deeply spiritual. The only society living within another society and have no true homeland to fall back on, even though we know the land of Israel is our homeland, but even that is being occupied. So we're out in this Egypt, in this modern day Rome, modern day Egypt, as our only kingdom. And we're trying to survive within another kingdom, and that's where the root of the problem is. Because you cannot come to your fullest potential being solely dependent or a whole nother nation for your well-being, for the want of all your needs. In modern times, one thing that revealed that is Hurricane Katrina. When Hurricane Katrina happened, you had New Orleans, back to Louisiana again, get wiped away, first of all, by the hurricane that came in, and then the floods that came in when the levees broke. And we know they blew the levees, but that's neither here nor there. That's going to a different subject. But either way, you've been washed out, and the remaining people that survived it were crying for help. But there's no country that you belong to that you can say, well, the American government is not helping us. Can you help us? There was nobody. So they had to wait for a whole other nation to come rescue you. So that was the telltale sign that all your wants and needs is by an entirely other race that despise you for the most part. Now, you have to understand what an independent society is made up of, the levels of what an independent society is made of. You have the banking, which is control of the money and the wealth. The banking controls the politics, which the politician controls the law. So you have the banking and the politics, and then the politics control the law. So you have the law, which creates the structure of law and order. Then you have manufacturing, which controls the infrastructure of that's the buildings, the railroads, the gas usage, the oil, the water, and everything that creates a society, the bridges, the roads. And then you have the agriculture, that's the food, the planting, the farming, and the planting of crops. Out of all those levels, and those are the basic levels of society, black people control zero of that. So that is literally the root of a lot of problems of why our people stay in this. To go to my previous Nalah's Chamber episode about how our people stay in this state of arrested development or acting like a baby or a child, because your society you're a society within another society, which is like parent and child. So if every aspect of your society is controlled by somebody else and you have no control over it, you'll become the big child of that country. And then that will seep into the family, and that will seep into the individual people, and their behaviors will reflect that of a child. So this is why the attention addicts is just another leaf on that branch, or a branch on the tree. It is just an effect of the cause. The cause is you don't have any functions in everyday society of the main things that will create a society. So you're not participating in it as far as a nation is. You're participating in working for them. So you can work in an auto plant, a bank, you can be a politician, but you're not controlling it. So that's where it gets blurry. So because of that, your society looks the way it does. And then a society is made up of families, which families are made up of individuals in the household. And then the families and the individuals make up the community, and the communities make up the nation. So if the smallest point of that is out of whack, the whole thing is out of whack. So you have it to where other nations they have a homeland, even if they're living here. To put it to the hood, you have Yemenites, people from Yemen that do a lot of the bodegas. They work a lot of the corner stores. They have a nation to go to. They have their own family to fund in the black neighborhood, taking the money from the black neighborhood, putting it in their own family that lives here, and then sending the money home. So black dollars are feeding families, Yemenite families that live here, and also making the country wealthy, where our people should be the ones that are in these communities taking over those things. At least that, if anything else, the corner store, the laundromat, the fruit stand, you can do that at least, and it's not there because it's not cultivated to be there for the reasons why I said before, that because we're controlled by another, we're inside of another race, and then we have no homeland, there's no structure. So all we knew how to do is be workers. We can't fathom being independently owning all our stuff. We're trying that, but it's not enough of a mindset for it to come into any fruition. It starts out from a child. I can remember being in 7th grade, and one of the I knew from 7th grade that something was wrong as far as our people being this need for attention, this attention deficit, and also the need, also the problem with being a child for too long. When I was in the 7th grade, we had this particular teacher, and he felt like he was going to do something different. He's observant, and that's another thing. A lot of Edomites observe us where the average Jake and Eve don't even know they're being observed. They're calculating they're talking to you one way, but they're watching everything because that's how they survive. But he noticed, even at 12 years old, I knew that this dude is watching, and he's observing, what are these people? So in order for him to, in this school, this junior high school, to get by without losing his mind, because junior high school in this broken, corrupt school system we have in America, in the inner city, you're basically babysitting really big children. It's not even any institution where you're learning and advancing. It's just one big daycare center. And every memory of junior high, particularly even high school, it was just a unspoken thing, but you're in a big daycare center. But anyway, he would play music in the class, and he said, look, if y'all be good, and these are 12 and 13 years old, and 12 and 13 year olds in the 7th grade. If you guys be good, I'll play music. And he would play whatever rap was popular at that time. And sure enough, it would have the class copying what he wrote on the board to get by. He would just smile and grin, and everybody liked him. Oh, so-and-so is cool. I wouldn't even put his name out there. He's not even worth giving any props. But, oh, this teacher so-and-so, he's cool. He be playing music, and that pacified Jake. So it worked. So his plan actually worked, because that's the one class I can remember nobody acted up because everybody wanted to listen to music. So that was the way you have to baby Jake. And I give it to that Edomite teacher. It was a good technique, because he got to teach his class, because other class I went through, they act like wild maniacs in there. You couldn't learn anything. The teacher would just like give up. They let the class do whatever they wanted to do. And they had this thing they would always say, hey, I still get paid. If you guys want to learn. If you don't, you don't. And that's the way it was. But he had to trick the kids into learning, which I never forgot to this day. But another aspect, to go back to music real quick, I just thought about it again. I'm going right off the top of the head. You have this other image in music that also reflects that I need attention and I'm a baby spirit. Just to name two so-called rappers of this younger era, Tyler, the Creator, who's out of Los Angeles, California. The ironic thing about him, not to go into him deeply, because he'll be a whole separate episode, but just one little aspect of him, a lot of his rap is about acting really juvenile and young and dumb. He looks like the actor from old Hollywood, Step and Fetch It. I mean, literally looks like him physically. So I always thought that was a funny, ironic thing, that he's representing that dumb, ignorant Negro in this modern age, and he's looking like him. And you have another rapper, Kodak Black, who actually looks like buckwheat. So it's just funny how these things are old, but they won't die, because society is still the same. Now, to get back on the aspect of community, I was going into the Yemenites that own the bodegas, and you have, let's say specifically in New York and Chicago, two places known for pizza. You have Italians that own pizzerias. So even as a kid, I would see 12-year-old Yemenite boys at the register. They getting Jake his bacon, egg, and cheese on a roll. And you go to the pizzeria, the 14-year-old Italian boy is at the register getting Jake his slice. So what that's showing you is other nations, even with their little businesses, they're teaching their children, you're inheriting this as the family business. This is how our family survives. It's about family survival and also family passing down of businesses and wealth. That's how it's supposed to be. With our people, the reason why we stay stuck in this arrested development, acting like a child, because there's nothing being passed down from the elders. And the reason why that is because a history of there's nothing to look forward to in old age. That Italian kid that's working at the pizzeria is going to see, when his father gets in his mid-60s and 70s and he's tired of making pizzas, he can go lay down and let his children run the business, and he can just enjoy his leisure in his older life. Where our people, because we're not functionally running anything, there's nothing to look forward to in our old age. It's nothing but being old. You're not landing in anything. So we get stuck trying to be between the ages of 15 and 22 forever, because that's the only pleasure. So if you know anything about children love attention. It's like when you at an art class in elementary school and you draw a picture for your mother on Mother's Day. You made her Mother's Day card in art class, and you want to show it to her, or any type of arts and crafts. You're getting that attention and that gratification, but you're a child, so it makes sense. But if you're a grown adult and you want that same gratification, but you're too old to get it from your parents, you start looking for it from complete strangers through social media. So that's where the childlike mentality comes into, well, I need attention constantly, and now you're addicted to it. So like I said, anything with our people, even though all nations, all nationalities are going to be on social media, but our people will finesse it in a very unique way. And it's more of a detriment than an asset because it's one more thing to keep our brains stunted. And to bring it back to the Gorilla Glue girl, she's an example of that. How silly it is, and how desperate you look to want attention where you would stoop to that level. So another aspect is, not of course not all of our people are childish and attention seeking. Some of our people want to live very productive lives. So some of the best of us, and I grew up with Jake's, a few of them, at least a handful or more that I grew up with are married to Edomite women. And as I observed all of them, it's not because a couple of them are just for the lust of it. A lot of it is they really want to create wealth in business, and they feel like it's Esau is just ready with that. The Edomite woman has a father who has connections to this job title and this amount of wealth. They have property that she inherited from her grandfather. I know a lot of Jake personally that are with Edomites, and they live in big houses because it was inherited. It was passed down from a grandfather or a father or something like that. So it's unfortunate that our people, we can't find that in abundance with our own people. That a lot of reason the Jakes that are so-called not like that, as far as immature, they have to look outside. And so does Eve. They look to Edomite men because of the lack of the failure of Jake. And not saying that's the right thing to do, but when you really start knowing people personally, you see how it played out. But the ultimate thing is not having any structure. So this kingdom is falling, and really our people, is the sad thing is, our people are going to fall with it because they're so attached to it. So the only answer to this problem of, like I said, attention addicts, which is a relation to everything else that's wrong. No family structure, no father in the house, and we can go on and on to the problems that plague the black community. It's coming back to these laws, because to make it a practical thing, if you have a corporate job, there is the corporate employee handbook. So let's say you have an issue at work where, I'll just use an example where it was so busy at the job that they didn't let you take lunch breaks. And now you were working there for 10 years and you went 10 years without taking lunch breaks. You can then go and you have your clocks to prove it, like you never clocked out for lunch breaks. You can actually go, if something happens where they fired you, you can go to a lawyer and they'll take up that case to say, well, you worked there for 10 years and they've never paid you for lunch. They owe you thousands of dollars. And they'll take up that case and they'll have the employee handbook and they'll submit that to a judge in the court of law that said, look, it said you deserve an hour break for every 8 hours worked. And look at we have a printout of the time punch, and you didn't get, he spent 10 years or she spent 10 years not clock it out for lunch. So he's owed some money. So I say that to say that the handbook is submissible in the court of law. It gives you structure. So in the spiritual sense, the Most High gave us the book to live by. It gives us structure. So we're not living by these laws, and it's causing lots of our entire nation's structure. Even if we don't have our homeland is being occupied right now, we at least have the structure to reestablish it anywhere we go, because it's on our spirit and on our heart, and we have a physical form of it. So when we come back to the laws, that's why part of the gathering of the nation, the 1/3 that's going to be saved, is coming back to the laws. That's why that's so the baseline thing to do, because that gives us a structure, and then it takes this curse off us, because anything outside of them laws is going to lead, as you can see, it goes all over the place. In this particular subject, the attentionness. You wouldn't have Eve putting glue on her head if her husband was in the house and told her not to do that, or her father had raised her up not to do that, train a child in the way they should go, and they will never depart from thee. A father said, we're going to step in and say we're not doing that, because our culture is so broken. Eve is a renegade in this society, and she wouldn't, with our right mind and our right structure by the Spirit, by the laws of the Most High, you wouldn't be craving those things. So that's just one example. So that covers it for now on this Nalah's Chamber about attention addicts. Stay tuned for all of the House of Israel stuff, HOI Mustard Seed, Chief Ephraim's page, and stay attuned with HOI, and we can be part of that 1/3 that's going to try our best to cleave on to these laws so the Most High can shield us from this wicked kingdom. So with that said, I'm just going to sign off. Bahashem HaMashiach Yahweh Shai. All praises to the Most High Yahweh. I bid you Shalom.